I actually think that we have to create the transition in a new comp. So we are now creating a new comp for everything. And then we are going to create that transition here at the end where we go into that frame. So for now, we're leaving the comp like it is. I think it looks pretty cool. We're coming up. If we have anything in the future, we have any ideas about, we can come back to that comp and change it. But I think for now, it's looking pretty cool. And now we're going to do that transition into the phone. Okay, for that, I'm going to grab that main comp into a new comp. So I'm just dragging it here onto that icon, main comp 2. And now we are going to track our phone. So here's full resolution. We do not need full resolution, but we need to define the area, which one we want to track. It's going to be this last part here. So this is what we want to track. Okay, nice. Let's open up Mocha. Apply Mocha here. Open up Mocha. Yes, Mocha tracking is really nice and pretty good for that scenario, I think. Okay, let's first of all find a good clean frame which we can track. So I think this is good. Create a new mask. Boom. Let's make it as precise as possible because the selection we're drawing right now is going to be that mask. Yes, yes. Okay, so here in the top, we need to correct that. That is looking good. So with that mask selected, we can now also track the perspective, and let's track forward and see how the tracker performs. Yes, this is looking actually pretty good. I think that's going to be a good mask. Let's go up here and see the result. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Right away, yes. And let's also track that mask backwards here. So let's zoom out a bit. And let's track it backwards. All right, cool. That's a good result. I think that's pretty solid. That's nice. Cool. That's exactly what we need. So like it's sticking to the screen. Let's save the data with Command S. Download the data here. And here we can now create tracking data of layer 4. Yes. And we are also going to create an After Effects mask. So if you click that, boom, it's just selecting this part. Isn't it amazing? I think that's so cool. And we can invert the mask here. And we can also feather it. Nope, it's not working. So let's go in here into that comp, select the mask, and let's invert the mask. And now we have that screen, which is pretty cool. And we have it clearly cut out. And now we can smooth the edges. Well, I might go in and do it again because I didn't do it correctly here on the top. These edges are too harsh. I think I can do a better result here. So I'm deleting the effect again. I'm deleting the mask again. So I'm applying Mocha. Sometimes you just got to do it again. I know it worked pretty good, but I want it to be 100%. So let's go in again. Okay, let's create that hyper perfect mask. Yes, 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 yes. Nice. All right, this is looking better. Yes, I like that. You can also soften the edges here. I'm going to smooth that edges a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. So let's go for the track, also the perspective. And now it's tracking. It's tracking really good. I think these edges look better now. Nice. Got the track here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Yes, let's see, the track worked really well. Let's track backwards. Oh yes, Mocha doing a really good job here. I love that. Nice, cool. Now let's save the data with Command S or here on the top. Close it again, open the mat and the tracking data, create tracking data because we are needing this tracking data in a second. We're going to need it. And we also can create that mask layer here. So let's create an After Effects mask. Perfect. Go into the comp and here we want to invert that mask. And let's also create a mask feather for about 15 maybe. Is 15 good? 15 is a bit too much, maybe 5. or let's say something in between, like 9. Yeah, I think 9 is good. Cool. That is nice. We can actually bring back that layer below here. So we just need that mask here on top, which is outer mask. Yes. And now we are going to store that data for that screen we want to place here on top. So let's create a screen with the size of the phone here, which is going to be lay here in the comps. Let's create the screen size. Actually, we can use the screen recording, so we have exact the same size as our smartphone. So let's drag that on here. Boom. Let's call this ending screen animation. Yes, perfect. So now we have that screen animation. We can put everything in here, and we have exact the same size as our screen. And now if we go in our main comp 2, where this effect is going to be here we want it. So now we can drag in that short ending animation below our clip here. Nice. And let's add the data here of our Mocha track. So let's go here into the tracking data panel and choose corner pin and choose the ending screen animation and apply the export. All right, this is looking awesome. So we have that clean mask now, and now we can duplicate this mask and call the other one inner mask. Boom, and bring up the mask options with M. And now we can uncheck invert. And now we have the second layer here, basically the inside of the phone. And what we can do now is pretty dope. So we can now animate just the inside to move out or to slide down. So bring up position, make a keyframe, and now we can drag it just down and it's going to disappear, which is pretty dope. And now we're going to smooth the keyframes as well. And that's how we can create a super clean loop. And afterwards, we can just go into that footage again. So bring this one up. So now we can see as we go up, we are losing that screen record. Maybe it should be more on the right at the end. Let's match the position here. So I think something like that could look pretty cool. And we go right back into that next frame. So zoom. That is pretty cool. Let's start a bit later. And another thing we can do, we can now also edit the inside here. So if we want to maybe add some Lumetri color. So let's say we want it to be more contrasty. Here the inside and the highlights be a little bit less. It looks a little bit better. Shadows a bit down, so we have more contrast. I think that is looking pretty good. And now it's going down smoothly. We can create our transition. Nice. Let's ease this quickly because I don't feel it like this is clean. That's cool. Let's also activate motion blur on that layer. And now we have that great moving down animation. So wait, but this position is not correct. I think it should be more to the left and to the right. This is not clean. Maybe we need to turn off the feather here on that bottom mask. So let's turn off the feather. And I feel that position is wrong. So let me duplicate this layer again. And now let's invert that mask again. I don't know, something was wrong. Yeah, but we have the same problem here. So to fix that, I think it was okay to have that layer. Just add the transform effect. And we are scaling it up to 105. This is going to fix the problem. Yeah, that's fine. So let's leave it like that. That's cool. I'm happy with that. Let's turn on the bottom layer as well. And now we have a great animation. Boom. Here we can turn off the layer. So we're going to cut it. So we're going into transparency. Nice. That is pretty cool. And that layer, we are like that comp. We are now moving into another comp, which is going to be the final render comp. So let's drag this comp into a new comp and name this one final render. Et voila. And now here we are going to cut the first seconds, which is the part here. So that part we are going to cut, and we move this part to the front here, and the other part we are going to loop. So let's search for the ending where we have that cool transition. I think here. Yes, so here it starts. And now we should see something behind there. And yes, I think we can start a little bit later. Let's make this one a 3D layer. Create a new camera. Open up the camera options, transform options, and point of interest and position. We are going to keyframe. And here we are going to create an zoom in now. So open up the second view. And at that point here, let's bring that layer away, which is transparency here at the background. We want to move in with the camera. So let's create a cool animation moving inside of the comp. So boom. And also let's open up the back view. I want to be a little bit more here centered. Let's see how that looks. Yes, I think that's cool. We can also add a C rotation. Boom. Start 0. And then we want to rotate the camera a little bit like that. Nice. So that is clean. Let's smooth these keyframes. Easy ease. Nice. So that is cool. Yes. Make it a little bit longer maybe. So the transition longer. Yeah, that's cool. Let's also activate motion blur on the layer. So it's like kind of blurring out when we go in. Nice. So now we need that clip from the beginning to fit in here. So we are going to create that loop. So you see here, it's a bit too short. So for the first frame here, we're going to duplicate that clip and time freeze. And we are going to move that layer backwards. So the first few frames here, like these ones, they're just freeze and then we're moving in, which is totally fine, which is cool, I think. Boom. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And now here the comp ends. So we can cut on the comp, out point, Shift Command X. And now we have created a cool loop transition. So we now only need that one view. Actually, we have a problem here because this is not 100% accurate. Let's go back into that comp and fix that. So here, for the inner mask, I don't know, this position just feels off. I think something like that should work. Let's delete all the keyframes. Check that. Inner mask, correct it a little bit. So the inner mask is actually filling the frame for sure. Something like that. Here, but here at the beginning, it's not correct. So we need to create a keyframe. Replace it here. The very beginning, we also need to move it a little bit more up. I don't know what's caused this problem, but let's just fix it by hand. And here we need to move it back to the left. And here it's all right. No, here we need to move it a little bit more to the left again. Okay, so let's jump back in the final render and see if everything is correct. All right, we just need to add that animation again. So here we want it to move down, move here. So we're creating that move down again. So smooth this keyframe, boom, and boom. And now it should be fixed. We are good to go. Boom. Nice. Let's go into the final render and see if it fixed the problem. Now that looks right, and nice, the animation is clean. And that's how you create that loop, guys, which I think looks pretty amazing. And in here for that layer at the bottom, let's add some Lumetri color and also some camera blur to match it a little bit better. So let's increase that to 10, and let's say at the beginning it's -2 exposure. -1 is good as well. Keyframe that, open up the keyframes with U. So let's make sure this is at the beginning. We are copying both effects and also apply these to this screenshot we did here, like the freeze frame. And here we can set exposure to 0 and the blurriness to 0 as well. A little bit later, so everything goes smooth into place. And we have that super clean loop. Now it's, yeah, that looks better if it's darker at the beginning. Yes. And then it starts clean from the beginning, and we have a super cool loop. Nice. Guys, this is looking clean. So I think we just have to correct some few things to make it look perfect. I think at the end we're going to do the markers, to remove the markers. If you don't have any markers, you're pretty much almost at the end. I think it's cool to also add an adjustment layer with, let's say, blur plus, well, let's first of all add a vignette. Boom. So just search for CC vignette. Boom. And now you can increase the amount or set the angle and the center. So I think that is looking pretty good. Just the amount a little bit. Let's darken the edges, which I think looks pretty cool. And we can also apply here the CC lens effect. And now set the size to 500 and curvature to 0. And then we can play around with a good amount of curvature. I think something like -100 is good. And let's say we crank up the amount to 400 here. And now we just, yeah, I think we copy that and create another comp to apply that. So pre-comp everything. And now we apply CC vignette, and the CC lens we're just going to apply on another layer. So create a new adjustment layer. So we're going to make everything pretty clean. Let's call this one CC lens. And let's, on the main comp, scale in so we don't see the edges. Boom. Nice. That is cool. I think it's just given that extra look here for the borders. So without the CC lens, with the CC lens, it just fit in together. Vignette all the way on the top. So it's not getting affected by CC lens. Otherwise we have that border. Vignette looks also pretty cool. And I think this is looking pretty nice. So this is just to, yeah, make things a little bit more smoother. And the last step is going to be remove the markers from our original clip. So let's do that. And to remove the markers here, I'm actually going into our main clip, the one here. And now we are going to track these little markers so we can actually add that effect of that blur. So let's do that in our main comp here. Let's single that bottom layer here, this one, so we can have a smooth clean back. You single a layer just by clicking here on that dot, and now we can go ahead and track this point. Let's also bring in that layer. I think we should track it till here. So let's duplicate this layer just one time. So this is going to be our track layer. Let's call this one tracker. Boom. And now we are going to create a new null object. And let's call this one tracker dots. And now we are going to track the dots here. So go into tracker and let's use the clip here at the bottom. Now let's track the motion. Make sure resolution is set to full. Go into the tracker again, and now we are going to track the point here. So we are resizing that, and let's use the tracker here. I mean, I have to track it because, yeah, I put them into the frame, but I didn't actually use them. So this is a pretty sad story, but yeah, we have to remove them. For the target, target is going to be where we are storing our data or tracking data. So let's have the tracker dots here. For the options, I wanted the tracker confidence to be at 90. And if it's not 90% confident, stop tracking. And yeah, let's start tracking forward. Okay, it just got it wrong, like in the first frame. Perfect. So let's move on. Just tracking the wrong dot because we need the top dot. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Maybe we're setting down that range here. Oh, is that bad? Wow, this is so bad. Good morning, everyone. Let's finish this awesome edit and yeah, remove the track point. So I actually tried off camera the best method to track. I actually played around with Moker. I'm super impressed with Moker, but in that case, for the tracking points here, it didn't work out. So I had to jump back and try the track point tracker again. And yes, what can I say? Now with the track point tracker, I actually tracked here that dot for the whole time. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to duplicate your clip just that we can get the tracking data from it. And yeah, no effects on it. And then create a null object. And yeah, open the tracker options here, track motion. And then I just track the position. We're editing the target and we are now defining the null object for the tracker dots here to store the data. And then I just tracked forward and I just analyzed the point here and make sure in options you have set the confidence to 90% and stop tracking if the tracker is not confident enough. So yeah, with that, I just went through the whole clip and created all these keyframes here. Yes, and yeah, the moment I covering the dot, oh, I didn't track the beginning. So yeah, here you can see how I'm tracking, but boom, here, for example, the moment I'm covering that dot, so here's the dot, I just missed out. So I just jumped forward in time here and I just placed the next keyframe. So here it's actually going to jump a lot. So let's move this one back here at the end, something like that. I think that looks all right. Yes, boom. So I just left these keyframes. I didn't do anything. So it's jumping from the last one I've seen here to the first one I see the track point again. So I just left them out. And now I have to track backwards for the beginning here to make the track perfect. So you can analyze backwards and forward. So this is definitely not right. So let's increase the window here. If you increase the window, it's probably going to take longer to track because you give him more area to analyze and it's not doing the track well. I'm so happy that I started from the end. So I like kind of backward tracked. So this actually did work out, but because here at the beginning, I don't know why, like the tracker doesn't do a good job at all. So I have to correct every single step. Hopefully you don't have to do that. You just click on analyze and it's tracking. And of course, some frames you have to track manually, but these ones is crazy. Like these track points, they didn't really help for the edit, and now they're pretty hard to remove. But guys, that's life. Sometimes, yeah, it just doesn't work out. So you have to fix it, man. So let's check the track, go through it, boom, boom, boom. Yes, 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 yes. Here are all the track points. Here we're missing a lot of track points because I'm covering the track a lot. So it's jumping here around. Yes, but it makes sense to appear back here. And then here is the end. The end. Nice. So we can shorten that clip here. The track points leave the frame. And yes, let's apply that data here to our null object. Boom. Apply it, X and Y, yes please. And now we have the data saved here on that null object. If we turn on layer controls, yes, here we should see the tracking data bring up U. This is the position keyframes. And now we can actually generate a frame, like generate with AI in Photoshop, remove these dots here, and then we can track it to that, or like parent it, because we already tracked it. We can parent it here to that dot. So let's do that. Let's save this frame, for example, go up to composition, save frame as Photoshop layers, and let's say want to save that as the white dots. Boom. So now it's going to save it as a Photoshop layer, and we can open it up in Photoshop and remove the dots, bring it back in, and then we are going to mask it out, and we can parent it here to that dot. Yes. I'm going to cancel it because it wasn't really smart to do that in the main comp. I just go into the original clip comp and just do that screenshot here. Go to After Effects, to composition, save frame as Photoshop layer. And let's save it as white dots, and it's instantly going to be saved because it's just a smaller comp. Yeah, I'm still tired. Sorry for that. But yeah, sometimes there is an easier way. So let's jump into our Photoshop layer we have saved. Boom. And now we are going to use the lasso tool here. Select the dots. Boom. And now we just click on Generate Fill. And please generate. Just like that, we're going to remove that. We can save the layer as a clean plate. And then we are going to mask out this area. Yes, easy. Yeah, I think that's good. What do you think? They all look good. So let's save this one and jump back into After Effects. Save it with Command S, like I just did. And let's create a Photoshop folder because we have a lot of Photoshop going on right now. Import it here. White dots PSD. Perfect. Why can't we import it? That's so nice. Yes, I want these layers. White dots. Yes. So let's create a new comp for that layer. Boom. So we now have that clean plate here. We're going to copy that grading and paste it on here. So it's looking exact the same. Now we can go back into our main comp and we drag in our clip here. So let's drag in the white dots PSD here. And we can set the resolution to half. And we are going to solo that layer and the bottom layer here. This one. Nice. And now we definitely need to change the length of the composition because it's too short. Let's change the length to 20 seconds and increase length of adjustment layer and the PSD. Go back into the main comp and now we can drag this one out. Let's label this layer so we clearly can see this is our layer we're working with. Awesome. Let's grab the pen tool, go down in opacity, and let's draw a circle. Why not a circle? You can also draw whatever shape you like around that area here. Increase opacity again. And now we can increase the feather here on the mask. So it's like smooth. And now for the last step, we are going to parent it to our tracker dots data we have saved. Et voila. And now it's going to stick here to the tracker data. And it should be good to go. So now we don't see any dots anymore. Is that cool? I think it's cool. And since we have rotoscoped the hand, it's going to be above that layer. Don't worry. I just have singled this layer. If we turn on the rotoscope layer as well, here you are going to see, since we separated it, it's not a problem. So we have fixed that. Nice. So I think that was pretty easy, pretty straightforward. How you are going to remove the trackers if you get the right track. I mean, now we can check, but the track looks good. We have the tracking data. Since it's track points, they should be easy to track, right? So we have the tracking data to remove them. Nice. So no track points there anymore. We now can turn on all the layers and this is looking good. I think we just need to cut it here at the end since we don't have any tracking data here. Boom. Yeah, it can just flow out so it doesn't look weird. Yes, I think that's good. Okay, nice.